welcome to our live webcast, How to Host Your Own Virtual Career Fair. Thank you for joining us. My name is Robert, and I'll be the operator for today's presentation. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acquaint you with a few features of this web event technology. At any time, you may adjust your audio using any computer volume settings that you may have. During the presentation, you'll see a multiple choice polling questions throughout the event. To participate in the polls, please select the buttons to the left on the answer that best represents your views or experiences. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will see a text chat window. There's a large window which holds all your sent messages, and a smaller text box at the bottom where you'll type in your questions. To send a question, click in the text box and type your text. When finished, click the send button. All questions that you submit are only seen by today's presenter. Your questions will be responded to in the order in which they are received and will be addressed at the end of the presentation. We are joined today by our speaker, Carrie McIntyre, Senior Director of Business Development at Boxwood. And at this time, I'd like to turn the microphone over to our speaker. Carrie?
Thanks, Robert. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm excited to see so many folks interested in the Virtual Career Fair program that we're rolling out, and we're really excited to be offering to everyone. As we go through this, I do encourage you to put your questions in as you think of them. I will try and answer them as best I can while we're on certain points of the presentation. I might not get to them at that time, and then I'll try and answer everything at the end. Anything I still haven't gotten to, we'll respond to everyone after the event with an FAQ document or some direct follow-ups if the questions are very specific to a particular association. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. First off, I wanted to quickly understand from everyone how many of you are either offering a physical or virtual career fair today in some fashion. So this will be our first polling question. If you can just answer on the little pop-up window that just came in what you're doing today. I'm going to get a feel for who we've got in the audience here today. So it looks like we're about half and half between physical career fairs and not doing anything but thinking about it, staying pretty consistent. Okay, that's great. So yeah, we're about half and half as far as the audience is concerned. All right. So what is a virtual career fair? Many of you are familiar with the idea of a physical career fair where you bring employers and job seekers together, typically at an annual meeting or other larger conference where you've already got a lot of people coming in. A virtual career fair is very similar to that in some ways, but very different in others. It's a way to bring employers and recruiters together, but instead of having a physical location for that, it's all done online. And unlike a physical event that may happen over 2 to 3 days of another conference, the virtual events are much shorter in time span. They're typically anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, sometimes a little bit longer depending on how large the event might be and how many attendees are coming. So it's a more compact time frame and engagement status for the employers and job seekers to commit to. I don't want to position the two as physical versus virtual as one being better than the other, though. They're just different experiences, similar to the way print and online job listings are different, capture different audiences. They have different pros and cons, and they can even be complementary. For example, you may consider, if you have a physical event, offering a virtual pre-screening tool event just prior to the on-site physical event. So you could maybe have employers and job seekers getting in touch with each other, making some preliminary connections, and then having more in-depth discussions on-site at your physical event. So they're different than a physical event. They can be complementary, but they are a high-value program to offer, and the reason are the different benefits they have. So for employers, the cost to participate in a virtual career fair event is limited to the cost of the exhibit space that you charge, the booth, the virtual booth. Unlike a physical event where they also have to budget for travel, shipping potentially, their booth cost being there, materials to hand out on site, and travel, accommodations, all that good stuff that goes into it, plus the time out of the office. With the virtual event, they only have to commit the dollar funds for the booth cost and then the 2 to 3 hour time window to do the actual event. For job seekers, the benefits are similar. If they aren't unable to afford to travel to an annual meeting, this is something they can participate in. And for a lot of the associations we work with, many of their members are not necessarily in an active job search, so they may be a little less likely to attend the physical career fair area, either for fear of being seen by their employer or somebody who might tell their employer, or because they're just not quite ready to make that large of a step to go talk to an employer face-to-face. With the virtual events, this gives them a confidential way. No one's going to know that they're participating except the employers that they chat with at the event. A confidential way to talk to employers, even if they're not ready yet to apply for a job or go for an interview, they can ask some preliminary questions and make some connections. So it gives them a great way to do that doesn't really exist in any other fashion. And then the benefit for the association is that this really helps convey the message to employers, in particular, the high-quality talent that you offer through posting with your Career Center and using you as a resource for hiring. So there's that benefit that it kind of pushes that message forward that you have high-quality talent that can't be found in other commercial job board locations, and it also helps drive additional revenue and traffic to your overall job board. So let's take a quick look. I know a lot of people are visual learners. I know I am. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of how this works. And we're partnered with a group called Brazen Careerist for this platform. Brazen's been in business for a number of years now and running these events for Fortune 500 companies, job boards, associations, all kinds of different groups. So they're very experienced. Their platform is proven. This is not something that's in beta. And what we're doing is working together to create an integrated virtual career fair platform that leverages your Boxwood online job board and the Brazen platform to add even more value than if you were to use these two things as separate standalone products. So let's start by taking a look at one of our clients. This is the American Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists. They have a career fair, a virtual career fair that's taking place tomorrow. So if you go to their website and navigate to their Career Center, you'll see this looks just like your job board, but one thing that's different is there's now on the search area an option to show the virtual career fair jobs. So mixed right in, and they use the same logo on these jobs as they do for their event. Mixed in with all their regular jobs, you can see which employers are hiring and which jobs they're hiring for at the virtual career fair. Job seekers can then also turn this into an alert. So prior to your virtual career fair, if they want to set up an alert and be notified of any new job postings that employers coming to this event are going to be talking about, they can get that email directly to them. And that's something that is a great way to leverage the platform that you have for your job listings to enhance the virtual experience for folks. So the other thing that gets added to your site when you have a virtual career fair is this virtual career fair landing page that we create for you. And it gives employers and job seekers a way to come in and register for this particular event. It's going to have information about the event, and we'll work with you on the text and exactly how you want to pitch it, information about how the virtual career fair works to folks who may not be familiar with it. There's even a video that people can watch to see exactly how this looks and feels, and we'll show some of the stuff that I'm going to show you all today. And then the different pricing and packages. So I'll pause on that really briefly just to give you a sense of what employers pay to participate in something like this. On average, for a niche sites like our clients, the pricing would be anywhere from $1,500 at the low end up to $2,500 or so at the high end for an employer to buy a virtual career fair booth. And that includes a couple of other things that you can make part of those packages. You'll see there are two options here, a basic and a premium. Just to recap really quickly for everyone who didn't get a chance to see it, hopefully you're seeing it now. When people are looking at your job listings, you'll see that there's a little icon next to the virtual career fair jobs. And so that's one of the things that ties the virtual career fair into your job board to help promote that event to your end users. When they see these different employers participating, they're going to want to sign up to go and interview with them or chat with them. And then the other thing that we do is we create this hosted landing page that talks about the virtual career fair event. So as I mentioned, there's going to be a description about the event, the time and date of the event, a video to show your end users how this works, and then the pricing information for the employers. Job seekers don't typically pay anything to participate, just the same model as with your job board or with your physical events. And then the employers pay anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 typically. You can make that higher if you want. And those packages then include things like, in addition to the booth, they get a certain number of job listings on your job board. Or in this case, you can see they also get a discount off of additional purchases they make on the job board through a particular date. If you have a physical event, you could make your premium package include a discount on their table or booth space at your upcoming physical event. So there are other creative ways that you can price and package these options for people. So once people decide they want to participate, then they're actually going to be moved over to the Brazen platform. And Boxwood has ongoing work that we're doing with Brazen to even further integrate our two systems together so that the registration process gets everybody into your Career Center system first in your Boxwood system, and then data is pushed over to the Brazen platform. So, for example, employers are going to purchase their package on your job board today, and that's going to then show up in all of your sales reports and things like that. So all of the employer activity and revenues generated from your online recruiting services are all going to be within the Boxwood admin system. So I'm going to pop over and show you what it looks like for an employer and job seeker on the day of the event. So I'll close these windows out for you. So I'm now in the system as a job seeker who has come to the event, and it's the day of the event, and I'm now in the lobby of the virtual career fair. All of the participating employers are going to have a kind of mini booth in this lobby phase where you can see everyone who's participating. You can see how many people are in line at the different booths. When you hover over a booth, a little pop-up comes with some additional information about that employer. And if you want to take a look at the booth, you just need to click on it. So there's a few things people can do when they're in a booth, and one of those is drop off a note. So, for example, if it's toward the end of the event, they need to leave, they didn't really have as much time to participate as they thought, they can send a note to that employer letting them know they stopped by and they'd like to talk. They can look at the different content that the employer provided, so the listing of jobs that they have available, information about that employer. If they included a video, then that will be showing up here. They can also participate in the discussion feed. So this is a public chat area where people can ask general questions of this employer about where their jobs might be or certain benefits, things like that, that are not the one-on-one chat but are more public questions. Those can then get asked here, and the recruiters can then respond in line to those questions, and everybody can see those. But the real focus of the event is to actually have people get in line to chat one-on-one with the employers that are here. So I just went ahead and I got in this line for the Association of Creative Surgery, and I'm going to go back to the lobby. And one of the things that's very different about a virtual event versus a physical event is when you're at a physical event, you can only stand in one line with one employer. And if that line is long, you might be spending a lot of time waiting to talk to one employer and missing the chance to talk to others. With a virtual event, you can get in as many lines as you want. So you can get in line with 2, 3, or all of the employers that are there. And the system is going to know which lines you're in, what the current wait time is, how many recruiters are at each table, and essentially manage a wait list for you. So you'll see over here, I'm waiting in 3 different lines. Right now the estimated wait isn't calculated because it's a demo and we don't have representatives and chats going on. But if this was a live event, it would basically tell me how long I'm expecting to wait in each of these lines to talk to that recruiter. If I then come up, I'm going to be connected to an employer, and I will then keep my place in the other lines, but people will basically go ahead of me until I'm done with that first chat and I'm now available. So I'm still first in line when I come out of that chat. It's a really nice way to make sure that both the employers and the job seekers talk to as many people as they can in that time period. So I've now clicked over, and now you're looking at me as if I'm a recruiter. So right now my status is unavailable, so I'm not being connected to any of the job seekers that are here. But I can take a look at my booth. I can see I have someone in line. I can see how many people are in my booth looking at my content. And I can see all the information that job seekers have available as well, including the discussion feed. So once I'm ready to start talking to employers, I make my status available. And now this is where the system is going to look, and without having to do anything else on my part or the job seeker's part, it's going to identify that there are 2 people available, and it's going to go ahead and connect us in a one-on-one chat right here live on the system. So that'll pop up here in just 1 second. And here we are. So now I'm connected, and you can see I didn't have to do anything more than be available. These chats are timed. So in this demo environment, it's a 5-minute chat time, and that is designed to encourage folks to not conduct a full interview, but really to do some pre-screening. So the purpose of these chats is not to have them end with someone saying, okay, you're hired. The purpose of the chats is to do some pre-screening, identify which candidates are the best targets for a next step, and then from this platform, go ahead and actually schedule those next steps, whether it's a phone interview or in-person interview. The time of the chat can vary by event. Usually they're in anywhere from 8 to 9 minutes. You can make them shorter. You can have them standardized for the whole event, or you can have your employers decide how long they want their chat to be. Having an 8 to 9 minute chat time is ideal because then it makes it consistent for the algorithms to figure out how quickly and how long people will have to wait in lines. So once I'm in here, I can start talking to this candidate. So you'll see I'm the recruiter right now. I'm looking at Don Draper, the job seeker, who's here. I can view his resume. These are some profile questions that we asked when he registered, and you can customize these for your audience. So if you want to ask about certifications or other types of work experience, you can do that. And so now as the recruiter, I can ask questions like, are you interested in relocating to Texas? And they'll be given, as part of the training that the employers and job seekers get prior to the event, they'll be given some suggestions on best practices for the kinds of questions to ask and how to have a successful online chat experience. So now you're looking at this as Don Draper, the candidate, looking at the recruiter, and I just see the message from that recruiter saying, are you interested in relocating to Texas? And I can respond, yes, I have family in Austin. Whatever that chat needs to be. So they're going to keep going through their chat as long as is necessary for them to determine if this is a good fit. At any point in the chat, either party can move to the next connection. So if one of us feels like, hey, we have everything we need, maybe it's a great candidate, I already know I want to set up an interview with them. So as the employer, I say, I'm going to schedule a phone interview. Then we can go ahead and do that right here. And if we finish everything up, then I can move on to the next connection. Either way, when the chat ends, both parties get an opportunity to rate the chat and make any notes. So right now, I'm looking at it as the job seeker, so I can rate my chat with this particular employer. I can make any notes about our conversation. If I want, I can get back in line to talk to them some more. And then I can also see the chat history and our transcript of our conversation. And then once I'm done, I can move back into the event. Over on the side of the recruiter, I'm now finished with my chat with Don Draper, so I can rate this candidate. And the training tells them to try and standardize the rating system among the different recruiters participating, so they all have the same measurement. 4s and 5s are someone they're going to interview with, maybe 1s and 2s they don't want to call back. If I don't want this candidate to come back in a booth, he can still get in line, but he'll never end up getting connected with me again. I can make additional notes. I can also see the transcript. And right from here, I can either email the candidate or I can forward his information to one of my colleagues at the company. So I can go ahead and take the follow-up steps right here while I'm on this screen. If it's a really busy event and we show the employers how many folks are waiting in line, so if they have a bunch of people in line, they might not want to do this right away. They might want to go ahead and get back into chatting. And then at the end of the event, they'll be able to come back for every candidate they talk to and see all of this information and do the rating and follow up at that time as well. And they do that through their dashboard. So from their dashboard, they'll see all the different candidates they talked to, the ratings they gave them, what the transcripts were, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so I'm going to take a quick break here and pop back over and see what questions that we might have coming in. So some of the questions that we've had are, do we provide any how-tos or best practices? Yes, there are employer information. They get a training session. When they sign up to buy the booth, they'll be invited to a training session that happens, I believe, either once or twice a week they can participate in. There's also a video training that they get. And right before the event, a day or two before, we'll also send them a how-to, exactly that, a how-to guide to give them tips. Next question, is the resume the same that is posted on the job board? It will be. Right now, we are asking candidates to upload a resume specific to the event, but eventually we are going to be taking the resume that they already have on your site and making that an option that they can upload so they don't have another one to do. All right. Someone's asking if there's going to be a recording sent out to attendees, and yes, there will. We will be sending this out for folks who missed it. The fees associated with your association. All right, that's a great one. Let me hop back over to the presentation itself. All right, so let me go back over there. And actually, let me get to how it works for the association in just one second. So to make these things successful, you need to have the marketing is the key part of this. And in general, 8 to 10 weeks prior to the event is when you want to start the marketing. There will be marketing done to employers. Sales to those employers is also recommended. Job seekers need to be contacted, and then a number of other ways that you can make people aware through advertising on your website, on your Career Center itself, as well as through other association platforms for outreach. The model that we have in place for doing this is basically you have two choices. You can either say, hey, Boxwood, we want to have an event on this date, and Boxwood does everything for you. So we will put together all the marketing pieces that will be used to do that outreach and have you approve them. We will then do all the outreach to the employers and job seekers. We will have our sales team call potential employers to have them sign up. And all you have to do is, if you want to add on to that with some of the marketing copy we can provide you, can then include that in your association communications, but we're not going to require that. The other option is for you to take on some or all of the sales and marketing for the event, and Boxwood just handles the technology side. In option one, if you want us to do everything, then the revenue share model is a 90-10 split where Boxwood gets 90%, you would get 10%. There's no setup fees. There's no license fees. You don't have to pay for the Brazen platform as part of this. Boxwood is basically going to do everything for you. If you're interested in generating a larger percentage of the revenue by doing some or all of the sales and marketing, then we're happy to have that conversation with you. We don't have a set split for what that looks like because it's really going to depend on a few factors. How much you're planning to charge the employers, how many events you think you might have per year, what kind of marketing and outreach you're planning to do, those kinds of things. So if you're interested in an option where you take on the marketing work, then just let us know and we'll work with you independently to figure out what the right model would be. In either situation, there's no setup fees at all. So we wanted to make this something that was really easy for folks to start getting into if they are interested in doing this. Let me go back real quick to some of the questions. So how far in advance to plan it? 8 to 10 weeks out is recommended. Is there a minimum number of companies that need to attend? That's another great thing about these virtual events is with a physical event, you kind of need to have a number of employers there for it to feel worthwhile, both the employers and the job seekers. But with the virtual events, you really don't need to have a huge turnout for this to make sense. You really just need to have a good ratio of job seekers to employers. So events can be successful with 5, 10, 15 employers and a few hundred job seekers. Then the employers get great communication and contact with a number of qualified folks over a short period of time. It's a very valuable experience. If in terms of a minimum number, you probably wouldn't want to have too much less than 5 unless you were doing was a only event, which is another way you can use this platform. So if there's a large employer in your audience or a big sponsor of yours that you wanted to do what you could probably call more of an open house than a career fair, would be something where, let's say it's the VA, the Veterans Administration, for a healthcare group. You could invite them to be the only employer at this event, and you would do the outreach to your audience, and they would be the only employer that would be getting the candidates coming there. So there's really a number of different ways that you can leverage the platform, even with small numbers of participating companies. Is it possible for candidates to add links to outside sites on their profiles? Yes, absolutely. You can include those on the profiles. Those can be the questions that you ask folks, and the LinkedIn profile is a very common one. If they have that displayed on that screen that I was showing you of the candidate's profile information, then it would be a link that pops open a new window for the employer to see that. Can they access the information from the virtual event afterwards? Yes, that dashboard that the employers have is available to them through their, right now, through the Brazen platform. It's also going to, all that information is going to be sent to them after the event. So every employer will get all of the contact information, transcripts, chat history, time spent, rating, all that good stuff, resumes of everybody they talk to in a CSV/Excel type format afterwards. As part of our integration work, we are also going to be making it so that at the end of an event, that information is also stored in their Boxwood employer account. So again, they'll have one place on your website to go to that has all of their recruitment activities. Are there minimum registration rates that you would need to abide by? We haven't really set a minimum that you'd have to charge. We're taking that more on a case-by-case basis, depending on how many employers we think you might get and other factors that might play into that. So I would say that if you want to talk further about different rates, lower rates than what we've outlined here, then let's reach out to us after this session, and we can talk in more specifics with you about that. Guidelines to suggest what to charge. Yeah, what Brazen has seen over the years is that employers are willing to pay anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 typically for a niche program. They do have some clients that charge employers much more than that. If you were going to do an event where there was just one employer, that open house model I mentioned, then you would obviously want to charge a very large premium for something like that. Can one association have these multiple times during the year? Absolutely. We actually discovered Brazen because of a couple of our clients that were using their platform, and one of those is Regulatory Affairs Professional Society. They have been using Brazen for a while now, and they do, I want to say they do 4 or 5 events per year. What would be an ideal number of job seekers? A good ratio, kind of rule of thumb, is you want to have several hundred job seekers, like 200 to 300 job seekers for every 5 employers, is a pretty good number. That's actually pretty high. You could get away with even a little bit lower than that, especially if your folks are hard to find folks. So that's going to also vary a little bit by industry in terms of how many job seekers would be a good number. How will you get the job seekers? So that's where the marketing comes in. Most of our clients have quite a lot of folks that are registered as job seekers with their career center already, so those are obviously the targets we'll be able to go after. We are encouraging anyone who's whether you're having us do all the marketing and sales or whether you're going to do it yourself, to expand beyond just your career center's registered users and also try and target, individuals, membership, prospects, that you have in your database, people who have purchased things from you in the past, to get as wide an audience as possible of job seekers participating. All right, we're at the 2:30 mark, and I think I got through most of the questions. If I missed you, I will try and skip back through them again and get back to everybody, just so that we kind of get a sense of where folks are thinking. So far, most people I've talked to are interested in Boxwood handling the whole thing, at least initially. So if you guys could answer this poll and just give us a better sense of where your thoughts are. Do you find it appealing that we would manage the whole thing? Would you want to manage some or all? Or would this be something where you start off having us do it, but then as you get more experience, you look at taking it over? So that way we can help plan our own resources for this. All right, so it looks like we're getting a good mix of, most folks are saying it's about 50-50 split, that they'd have Boxwood help out at first and then take on more, whereas others, the other half, are saying that they would take on some or all. So that's great. That's perfect. All right. So in summary, these are really a great, valuable member service that we're super excited about having our clients start offering. You can see some of the benefits that we talked about here. I personally really think that the passive candidate experience is an important one. It's something that really has been a difficult thing to provide a passive job seeker with ways to engage with an employer. If they're not ready to apply for a job or they're not ready to walk into a physical career fair, how can you help connect those folks when they might be in those early stages of thinking about making a change? And this is a really great way to do that. And so many of the people on your site are going to fall into, or your members and visiting your website are going to fall into that category. I also think, one of the challenges a lot of our clients have is employers not always knowing where the candidates are coming from, because when they post their jobs, because people don't always apply through the website, candidates don't always accurately report where they found jobs, and employers are often wondering, like, where do I get the best results? Well, if they come to a virtual career fair and they interview, 10, 15, 20 high-quality folks or screen them in a short period of time, it's going to be impossible for them to not realize the value that you can offer through posting on your site and through events like these. So I think it's a really, really powerful way for associations to highlight the value that they bring to the table. All right. That's pretty much all we have time for today. My email address is on here, my phone number too, if you want to reach out and let us know if you'd like to have a more in-depth demo or you're ready to get started and want to talk about how the business model would work. That would be great. We'd love to hear from you, as well as any questions that you may have that you think of after the fact. So thank you, everybody, for your participation, and have a great day.